So I want to do a small update on the tank here. As you could probably see, it is growing in extremely well. So we did find out that that plant on the Triford is Anubias, I think. And everything is growing to an insane height. These cardinal plants, when we first got them, were like this tall. They've like more than doubled in size. This one's going crazy. Haven't even really looked at that one in a while. That one's going crazy. This one over here is doing pretty decent. There's just a random pearlweed stem. So growth-wise, it's absolutely fantastic. Now here's the issue, right? So in the video, I talked about a small population of snails. That population of snails has grown to a frankly disgusting amount. Because these are bladder snails, and bladder snails reproduce completely asexually. So they quite literally just multiply. We have no idea how many we originally got, but we do know they came in from our plants because we did not sanitize or quarantine them. Either the pearlweed or the moss. No, not the moss. Yeah, the pearlweed or the moss. They came in on those. Didn't come in on the cardinal plants because we didn't have them. We got a, what was it? It was a trumpet snail on the driftwood, which was fine. Those guys don't reproduce asexually, so we still only have one or two of those guys. They bury themselves in the soil, so you'll sometimes see them like dragging themselves across. Those have been no problem at all. I love those guys. They're super cool to look at, and one of them's gotten pretty big. But these bladder snails are extremely problematic. Not just because they look ugly, which they do. However, the shrimp are breeding, which is very, very good, and I will show that. I'll talk about that in a second. But it concerns me with the amount of bladder snails that are appearing, because at some point I feel like they may start to outcompete the shrimp, and I want the shrimp to have as much. Like, I want them to keep going. I want them to keep breeding. I want to make as many shrimp as possible, as many shrimplets as possible. This is a tank for them. This tank is not for the snails. So, I want the shrimp. I want the best thing possible for the shrimp. And the snails are concerning me because, one, they were unintended. Two, they are abundant. And also, they are not the best for long term for the health of the shrimp when we have this many of them. Some snails is good, but this many snails is not. And I have done the cucumber thing and the spinach thing where you boil it for a little bit, and it like softens it, and then you put it in, wait till all the snails kind of latch onto it, and then you take it out. I was doing that for a little bit, but they vastly outperform that method. So, I'm bringing that up for a reason, but also, look at these little guys. We have had multiple batches of baby shrimp born. One of them was extremely recently, so you could see there's a bunch of tiny little guys chill maxing, doing their thing. It's super interesting because most of them are like this color, where they're like that clearish kind of semi-transparent tan color. Then some of them, like the ones I showed a second ago, are just like super blue. Usually they don't gain their color for a good while after they're born, but some of them just within the first like week of being born are just bright ass blue or red. Like this guy's pretty red. There's a couple in here that are like a super saturated red. And I don't know how they're doing that. But I don't have a ton of the original batch still alive. I'm going to be honest. Look at that guy. Unfortunately, a good amount of them have passed away. I'm left to about half, from what I could tell, of the original batch. There is a red one, a blue one. There's that like mixed red and white one back there. There's a yellow one in here somewhere, and it's really hard to tell because I have not been accurately tracking them anymore. At this point, once they had like 2 batches of babies, then I was kind of like, you guys are going, you're sustaining yourselves, so thumbs up, have fun. Also, I did trim the pearlweed. It was growing quite literally to the water line, so I cut all that back a couple days ago, but it's growing straight past the water line. So, that being said, there's a lot going on here. I'm extremely happy with the plant growth, the shrimp reproducing. I'm extremely happy with that, and the tank is very healthy. The water is clear. All the shrimp are fed. I drop just a little bit of food in there. I have these like shrimp, these like pellets that I drop in there every once in a while. Like once a week, I'll drop a couple in there. And even with that little amount of feeding, they're so rapidly multiplying, which shows that they have enough food that they are comfortable multiplying, which is very good. Growth is amazing in this tank. It is growing extremely rapidly. But there's two things that I really do not like. Number one is the snails. There is just simply too many. There are hundreds of them. A couple snails is fine, but when I have this many, and I was planning to add like some small fish into this tank, I didn't want to have all of this going on and have these snails be a constant battle. Because if I'm focusing on keeping the shrimp and the fish alive, and for context, I am not a person that just wants to put them in and then just like, oh, look at my fish, that's pretty cool. I want them to have the absolute best life they possibly can, and I want them to be as comfortable as they possibly can. So I don't want to have to worry about fighting with the snails while I'm trying to make sure my fish and my shrimp are as comfortable as they can possibly be. So I don't want the snails in here. A couple bigger snails are cool. I like just a couple snails. Hundreds of them? No. So bladder snails were the most unfortunate type of snail to get into our tank because they just don't stop. Once they're in there, they're everywhere. The trumpet snails that slither and like get under the soil and stuff, those are chill. Those guys are pretty sick looking. There's like 2 of them. They're super chill. Love those guys. These are a problem. The other thing I do not like is the scaping of this tank. As you could probably tell, it's just thrown together. We had absolutely no idea what our plan was when it came to scaping, and all of our plants arrived at different times, so we kind of just threw stuff wherever it would fit, and that led us to this, where the tank is fully functional. It looks pretty cool, but it's not a very visually like pretty thing to look at. And my girlfriend, she was very interested in the scaping process. You know, she wanted the whole point of us doing this, the whole original, not agreement, but like our original plan, she would get to do the scaping and like make the tank look cool, and I would handle the actual life inside of the tank and maintenance on the tank, which is very cool. That's what I love doing. We are very happy to do that setup. But because of our inexperience and because of us not really knowing what we're doing, the way we set up the tank was very sporadic, and we didn't put a lot of thought into scaping because we just kind of threw it together when we could. So, with the snails being a problem, I knew I had to restart the tank. I wanted to give her a chance to do some cool scaping and plan out a really cool design, and I wanted to give a better opportunity for the shrimp and the future fish to live comfortably. So with that being said, I knew we had to rebuild the tank. So we went to the fish store, and I'm going to start walking to a different location because you're going to see why. So we went to the fish store. Also, hello, Ranjo. Oh, baby boy Ranjo. Ranjo sits up here. Okay. All right, well, thanks for that. So we went to the fish store, and we went there for... Don't look at my feet. Don't look at my toes, freaking weirdos. We went there for a reason, and the reason we went there was to grab a very small tank for quarantining the shrimp. So I was going to take the shrimp, put them in a secondary tank, and then basically nuke the first tank and like heat it up to the point and salt it to the point where the snails will die off, which is unfortunate that I have to do that, but I do have to do that. And then I can rescape the tank, and then we could put the shrimp back in. So we wanted the secondary tank for quarantining tank, which is going to be the cheapest little thing that pretty much the cheapest thing that they had available. But when we were walking in, let me see if I can get this light on. There we go. When we were walking in, we spotted this is a 17-gallon rimless tank. And if you know anything about aquariums or the aquascaping hobby, rimless tanks are insanely expensive. They are not cheap at all. This is a 17-gallon one, which normally would cost over $200, I would guesstimate, judging by the rest of the tanks in that selection. And of course your store will vary. The store that we go to is a little expensive. It's the only one good in the area that we know of, but it is a little expensive. This is a 17-gallon rimless aquarium, holds water. I already tested it, and we paid $115 for this. because the corners of the foam on the bottom are peeling off. But literally I just push them back over to where they're supposed to go, and they are completely fine. They quite literally, like, there's no damage. Okay, that's not gonna work. It is entirely just a cosmetic thing. So we bought it because 115. I wanted a rimless tank anyways, and the other one I was looking at was like a 15-gallon. It was like a long tank. It wasn't tall. It was like super shallow, but it was like long, and that was like $150. And then like a 10-gallon rimless was like $100. So I saw this for $115, and I was like, you know what? Screw the quarantine tank. We'll just rebuild the whole scape, and then just move all the shrimp over here. So that's what we did. And these are shelves that we took. Hi, Rudy. Hey. These are shelves that we took from work because they are like planters kind of things, because my girlfriend works in the floral and like produce department. So these are like planters from work, and they were getting rid of them because they got new ones. So we took 3 of them and stacked them all up. They're all screwed together. So this is one unit, and then they're screwed to the giant cubby thing here at the bottom. So this is one solid piece pretty much. And I feel like that is good enough to store the tank on. I sat on it. I weigh like 140, and 17 gallons of water weighs also about 140. So, give or take like 5-10 pounds. Should be good. That should work pretty well. And also, it's going to look really freaking cool. And filming this is going to be much easier because the other one's like up in the corner, up in the loft, in the corner behind my desk and stuff. Very annoying. This down here, I can get freaking all around here, up in there, underneath, everything. And it's much nicer because it's right about like hip level. The actual tank starts, so reaching my hand in there to do maintenance is super easy. I'm super excited for this. While we were up visiting my hometown, me and my girlfriend, we went to the beaches up there, which are not really sandy beaches like they are down here in Florida. They're more like rocky and like stone and driftwood and stuff. And we collected a bucket of driftwood, and I had my mother ship it out to us. So sometime in the next week, we are getting a bucket of driftwood, a bunch of small pieces of driftwood. So we're gonna put the soil in, which I got aqua soil this time. We're gonna try that because I want to do a carpet, and aqua soil helps a lot with carpeting because you don't have a cap on it. At least from my experience, and not experience, but like knowledge. And I'm out of breath. Why am I out of breath? I'm talking too much. So we're doing aqua soil, and then we're going to do the hardscape. Well, she's mostly going to plan the hardscape. We're going to do the hardscape. In here, I took the filter. There's a hang-on back filter that I bought for the tank upstairs that I took out, and I'm just using the sponge filter up there right now because I want to move that to this tank. But that has snails in it, so I need to fucking put that in a bucket and let them die, unfortunately. And then I'm going to take some plants out of the one upstairs, sanitize, quarantine, remove all the snails, get that all situated. I'm going to reuse a lot of things from the tank upstairs, but it will be sanitized, salt-dipped, quarantined, all that. So this tank is going to be very, very pretty. The plans that we have to do is I want to do like 2 pieces of driftwood in like a spike in the middle, like a tower kind of thing, like a pyramid. And then this back wall is going to be floor-to-ceiling pearlweed, just like straight up. And then I'm going to do a thick carpet. Hopefully Monte Carlo, but I know Monte Carlo can be kind of tricky, so it might end up being a pearlweed carpet. We're going to see, but I really want to carpet this tank. And then a bunch of driftwood everywhere. And then the walls, I want to do some like sword plants, like the sword ferns and Amazon sword thingies. I got to do a lot of research, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be nice. And we also, I'll show this over here, we got one of these little like plant propagation things. So these are what are called inch plants, I believe. And what we're going to do is they grow mostly in water. We're going to see what plant grows best in the water. Where the frick did... What? Where'd that one go? There was one in here. One of the cats definitely knocked it off. Damn it, Crudy. He definitely just knocked it down. But anyways, we are going to grow these guys to the best. There we go. Grow these guys to the best of our ability, and then what we're gonna do. Ooh, are those roots? Is it rooting? already? Let me finish my damn sentence. What we're gonna do is take one of those, put it in a hung planter in the back of the tank. So what you can do is plants that grow in water like that, you can get a little planter that hangs like right about, here, and it just roots into the water, and then you get these like overflow plants that will hang over the edge. They look gorgeous. You can look it up, just planted aquariums. You'll see some that have like overflow plants. Absolutely love those. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna throw him in the water. No, I'm kidding. That's our current plan. I'm just waiting on the driftwood to arrive so we can start assembling the tank. The whole thing will be filmed, obviously, and there'll be a sequel to the shrimp tank video. And this tank is big enough that we can comfortably add fish. The other one, it's just a 10 gallon, so like we can add fish, but I would feel a little bad. But this is plenty room for like a school of some nano fish, like some tetras, or some resboras or something like that. There's plenty of room for them. And I want to have a school. Like I said, I want them to be as happy as possible. I don't want to have a tank just for the sake of having one. I believe that the animals in my possession, in my household, should be treated the best that I am able to do so. So I want, if I have a schooling fish, I want to have a large school of them. And that helps with a lot of things. So that is the goal. That is the plan.